Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Staffing and Finance Committee. See that we have an enthusiastic crowd in support. Right, fire safety, you all know where the exits are. There are no fire alarms scheduled for testing today, so if anything does go off, just run like hell. Apologies for absence. Rachel is on holiday, David is on holiday. I don't think anyone else is missing. Is everyone minded to accept their apologies? Are they allowed holidays?
Yes.
Okay, right.
Have you announced where Schultz is meeting us?
Is it covered in standing orders? Now, I think standing orders are silent on this point, and therefore you can use your discretion.
Are you implying that I should get checked out? Oh, that's cool as well. Oh, right, fine. It would make us for it.
I don't think.
Like a full council.
I don't think there is a dress code for these meetings, is there? Okay. The declarations of councillors' interests and requests for dispensations. I have nothing, none that I'm aware of.
None that I'm aware of, Chairman.
None that I'm aware of.
None from me.
Okay. Right. Public participation. Have we received anything from the public?
There's nobody online.
There's nobody online, and the hordes are silent in the background. We may therefore pass over that one as being not relevant. Chairman's updates. Right. I'm told that I will update you on the internal audit, for which you have the papers in the agenda papers. And I am pleased to say that there are no new issues being raised by the auditors. There is an ongoing issue which I will come to later. We note the resignation of Wendy as Town Clerk and Lynn as Sustainability and Prosperity Manager. It's a lovely title. And there will be, or if there haven't already been, severance payments, etc., to pass through the accounts, but they haven't yet affected the April accounts. And finally, Council's backup data security has been improved. Unfortunately, I know nothing about this one, so perhaps, Steve, you can enlighten me.
Yeah, so IT Vision or whatever they're called, they came in and gave us some recommendations. There were some works they could have been, I think they should have done originally when they came in. So they've arranged an offsite backup now, as well as cloud backup. So we've got double security in terms of our data. And that the problem was, one of the problems was incorporating the Realtus data from the final. Sorry, should know how to use the microphone, shouldn't I? One of the problems was the Realtus data, getting off that Realtus server and into a backup. But the good thing is that thanks to Mike, that the council's data is now far more secure than it was. I think it was fairly safe, but it's now, the braces are now on top of the belt.
Thank you, Steve. Does anyone have any points they wish to raise in respect of that? No, good. Moving on then, minutes of the last meeting. I believe I have a copy here for signature. Has everyone seen a copy of the minutes? Does anyone have any issues they wish to raise? All right. So do we have a proposal that the minutes be accepted? Thank you. Seconded by, thank you. Shall I sign here on the dotted line?
Yes, please.
11th?
Yeah.
We'll have to sign every page.
Initial reading, just on one side. It doesn't have to be both sides. Just front side across. Thank you. You co-opted.
No, he was elected one. That was understanding.
Oh my goodness.
And he's not turned up in a suit tonight.
And he's not wearing shorts either. Right, item 7, grant funding. We have an application in respect of the, what's it called? The North Somerset People First Fund, who have been awarded a grant, but they have been unable to spend it and therefore want an extension of time in which to do so. There is a paper in the agenda papers. Does anyone have any comments they wish to make on this? Yes.
Just say I have worked with the organisation frequently in the past, and they do some very good work that is not replicated anywhere else. And I'm actually not surprised to see that late application.
I can understand.
Like they have got, they run on sellotape and fresh air. Okay.
Right. Okay, so does anyone else wish to say anything about this?
So yeah, it made perfect sense. So I'm happy to support it.
I'm happy to support it. So can we have a proposer and seconded?
Yeah.
All those in favour?
Yeah.
Unanimously. On a general point, do we have a council rule about unspent monies relating to grants?
I think our practice is that if it's not spent, we do bring it back to you to consider any, whether you ask for it back. Yeah. But in this case, the grant recipients have obviously said that they will spend it. So.
Right. Okay, I'm happy with that. Right, item 8. We have a long list of documents to review. Do we need to vote on each of them separately?
You can take them as a composite if you're happy, Chair.
I'm happy to. Does anyone have any objections to that? Right. Going through the items anyway, one by one. The 3 lists of payments from Unity, Lloyds Bank and Lloyds Charge Card. Does anyone have any issues to raise in respect of those? No. Good. That's those 3. Right. 8.2. The Rialtas accounts for the month of April 2025. Does anyone have any issues?
Well, I'm not sure whether they are related to that particular. I can't get the document. I did make a couple of notes in respect to 1 or 2 things, but I'm not sure in which list they are. I think they could be part of this one because they're not regular payments. Well, they might be. Well, one of them was that's the regular ones. No, that's which one's that one?
It was the next one on the list. That's when I opened it.
Well, I'll tell you what, shall I just raise them and then
Yes,
you can
by all
sort of
means.
see where they slot in. One was the agency costs. I was assuming that Della was taken on, I'm assuming it was related to this, from the 1st of April. Was she taken on full time by us?
Yes, Mike. And what happened is we had to, because she was engaged through an agency, we had to pay a severance fee to get her services. So there was another payment we had to make to the agency
I see.
for her release. Yeah.
Oh, I see. And that came later than the. Oh, okay.
Mhm.
There was also a public toilets cost, which again, because they're closed, I'm assuming that there was no cleaning required, and so I was a bit puzzled as to why there were ongoing costs related to those. I'm assuming it's only the ones down in the car park that we're talking of.
Yeah. Yes.
What I think happened there was that the decision of community matters was that we tried to keep the disabled toilet open. So we gave notice to the contractors that the contract would terminate at the end of the month in the hope that we would be able to keep the disabled loo open. When it transpired that the lock mechanism on the disabled loo was completely beyond repair. So we were in a situation where we'd authorised the cleaning of the premises, but that we couldn't open them. So I think that's what's happened. That's why we ended up with an extra payment where we probably didn't need to be making it, to be honest.
And am I assuming that that's now ceased? That
Yeah.
there are no further payments on that?
No, terminated, yeah.
And the final one I scribbled down was I was a bit surprised to see that the photocopier up in the office is leased rather than owned. So it's about £555 per annum lease charges, and I was sort of assuming that for £1,000 you could probably buy one. Wouldn't it be therefore more prudent for the council to buy one?
Do we know how long?
Doesn't it come with a
the
maintenance contract with a lease though?
How often are they maintained?
I think the thing is you're right. Photocopier technology is really advanced. The thing is with leasing, I don't know. I don't know the detail of the leasing agreement here, but in agreements in the past I've dealt with have been on a servicing but you pay for your servicing costs, which includes routine visits and maintenance, replacement of any spare parts. So if you buy one outright, I've seen councils that have done it. You know, you then potentially, if you get a problem with it, you've got a bill, which is fine. But I mean, there's swings and roundabouts, really.
Well, I was just going to ask you, in your opinion, what do you think is a better arrangement?
Personally, I always prefer to have somebody I can ring up and say it's not working, come and fix it. Than
Okay.
you know, so I like the contract.
It was a general question. I'm
Yeah.
not making any
No,
judgment
okay.
either way, really.
But they're pretty high maintenance things. They get a real use in.
Well, I mean, it's a big one.
It gets a lot of use. They're always going wrong. So, yeah.
Steve, do you know how long that contract has to run?
I don't know. I'm sorry, John. No.
It's possible to get. Have a quick look at the terms.
Yep. I'm sure Sharon's could put her fingers on it tomorrow morning, and we could let you have that. So I'll make a note on that.
I've got
Oh, sorry about that.
Thank you. Thanks.
But we haven't done anything about it yet because it's way down the priority list.
Bit of dispute over it, isn't
I believe so, yes. About legal fees.
it?
But it will be hopefully wrapped up in the whole devolution deal, so we can forget about all the legal nonsense and go back and forth. Yeah.
And I sort of have to assume that the £1,000 costs might have been related to all the hedge cutting around it. Yes, it's quite an extensive hedge round on
We
the
have
west
similar
side,
costs for
isn't
the
there?
other allotments.
Yeah.
Any other queries on the income and expenditure accounts? Okay. Right, we have the internal auditor's report and the AGAR 1A certificate at items 8.4. I'm very pleased to see that there are no new issues raised by the internal auditor. The ongoing issue that I referred to briefly earlier is the collection of overdue debts, where we are currently in a position where we are forced to write off some debts because we're not collecting them efficiently. I understand that the debt collection process is handled by Mike McDonald.
What? I don't know.
It might be. Well, that was my understanding anyway. I think we need a review of that process to minimise bad debts in future. And I think we should be looking at a complete revamp of the way in which we handle hall bookings. Yeah. I would like us to move to a system in which people pay in advance for the bookings and that we have a blacklist on people who do not pay.
I completely support that, and I completely support that, and as a user of the halls in a completely different capacity, I have no complaints at all with the way that it's handled, but actually I was extremely surprised not to be charged a deposit and then to be billed probably Indeed. A month after we'd actually used the space. Yep. So
I have discussed this informally with Mike, and he's not happy about changing the way he does things. But
could I just ask you in
Yep.
passing, because I did see the list of the ones that have been written off, but is there a further list of outstanding debtors at the moment?
There is in the pack which I circulated with the April accounts some time ago. There's a list of all the debts which are outstanding on the sales ledger, and some of them, amounting to about £2,000, are over 3 months old.
Oh, right, okay.
And that's the bit that worries me.
Yeah, sure. I agree with you.
Be that we need to review the whole booking approach, because this is, the whole, inaccessibility. Now we've got the billing, it all needs a bit of a modernisation, I think. So, how do we can we? I know Mike's been busy. How do we get that onto his to-do list?
I'll have a chat with Mike and Sharon about that, because I think as well there is room for improving the way we work. We're paying a lot of overtime to Mike to set things up and take things down. It's fine when it's council meetings, but setting up for third parties, I think we should just make that part of the higher cost. Or that we include extra where they want us to set up, and then we employ one of our caretakers to come and do that work. So I think there's ways in which we can definitely make efficiencies. There are really excellent hall booking systems which are not expensive. In fact, I think Rialtas, our accountancy software, offer a bolt-in module, which means that when you process a payment, it goes straight into Rialtas. So you can keep track of any debts and then pursue them a bit more vigorously. So I think we probably need to look at the whole thing, really. Yeah, for sure.
And for what it's worth, Rachel has suggested informally that she take a more active role in the bad debt collection process.
John, as a committee, do you think that we could actually say that we support a change to what?
I would
the
personally
booking system?
support it, yes.
Yeah, but it has
Having been a credit control manager, there's nothing like cash up front.
But it would appear the full committee would agree with you.
Yep, sure.
It is the only adverse criticism made by the internal auditor, so we have to be seen to be dealing with it.
I think to do anyway.
Yes.
Yeah.
But just being mindful of the pressure that's on some of this on Mike at the moment with the halls work, it doesn't have
I
to be
accept
done
that
tomorrow.
entirely,
Mhm.
but the pressure on the halls work should die down after the end of this month.
It's quite this one.
Just on a note that you mentioned, Steve, in relation to overtime and such like, are you suggesting that if the hirer wishes to have a setup and take down, such as the Gordena Civic Society, for example, one of the reasons why we're in Somerset Hall is because we don't want to shift all the chairs at the end of our meeting and put them out as well. And we know that if we come here, we'll end up having to do that. And of course, most of our membership is elderly. So would you suggest that that becomes part of the package of hiring, that it's bolted on?
I think it's an option, because Mike quite often has to stay behind in the evenings or come in at weekends to do setups for groups, and that's costing the council money every time on overtime. His basic, and I think without giving away any great national secrets, I think Mike is looking to try and retain a bit more of a work-life balance and maybe reduce his hours if anything. So I think any way we could do that. I mean, I only had a chat with him today actually about the possibility of reconfiguring the upper floors of the building to create almost a permanent council chamber where the AA hirers are tonight, and move the AA hirers into the old clerk's office and set that up in a more informal method, set up so that it could be used by staff during the day and AA at night, so we can retain that booking. But then everything's permanently set up for our meetings. We don't have Mike doesn't have to set it up, because it's just plug your laptop in and go.
Good thing.
So I think there's ways we can make some big efficiency. But like you say, changes needs to be managed. Because change often implies criticism of the person who's delivering the existing service. So we need to tread a bit gently with him, because he's done.
Understandable.
He's gone through a heck of a lot the last few months.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, moving on. Item 8.5 is a summarised income and expenditure account for the year covered by the internal audit report and the AGAR returns. Does anyone have any points they wish to raise on that? Although it's not actually obvious, it represents a deficit of approximately £44,000 for the year. I'm happy that it's consistent with Rialtas and with everything I've heard about our finances.
Do we know what the environmental projects were? 2,260. You remember?
I think it was the show in the energy show in the Somerset Hall. Yeah,
Ah.
yeah, with Centre for Sustainable Energy. Yeah.
Oh yes, yes, they had a field, didn't they?
26.9. What's that?
Just general running costs. I
Running
think.
cost, yeah. That's refurb of the walls, presumably.
Mm. Yeah. presume so.
Away toilets.
Yes, the line buildings halls, 116,000. That's the amount that's been spent on the project up to the end of March.
I was interested to see that the bus shelters, which of course we have a monthly cleaning rota, I believe, chap from Shepton Mallet, which seems ridiculous, but anyway, that you're suggesting that North Somerset take over the ownership of our 20 odd or 30 odd or whatever it is shelters. I'm
No.
sorry, this is a bit of an aside. But
No, I think some of the bus shelters were they're refurbishing
yes, they
some
are.
bus shelters. So my assumption is that if they're removing one of ours or refurbishing it, it's effectively theirs, isn't it?
I see. Yeah.
I'm not-
The one nearest to us is getting replaced. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And the parking enforcement officer, that's now a thing of the past, isn't it? Yeah. So this is probably the last tranche. Yeah.
Trees and outdoor environment. Is that park? Lake grounds?
Trees and outerway could be anything. Could be
Broken words.
Bristol Road playing fields. When the allotments, trees could be anything. So, yeah,
A lot of money there.
yeah. But yeah, there's tree work every year, isn't there? So.
You'll note that it's virtually the same as the amount in the previous year.
The one at Redcliffe Bay that's got to come down is 3,500.
Yeah, Red Lake grounds are there separate.
Yeah.
The lake grounds ones, they'll be the ones around the play area or in the play area, basically. Yeah.
Can I just check the health and well-being is partnership? Is that staffing costs?
It would be under admin costs.
Because that's very high.
Health. Oh, wait a minute. This is the what do you call it? Signpost. This is the service that was provided by Laura.
That isn't there anymore.
That's correct. Which is why it's dropped from 44,000 last year to 22.
Yeah, that
Because we only had
makes
6
sense.
months.
It's half
worth.
year. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so everyone happy to proceed on those? Thank you. Right. 8.6 is a summary of bank accounts. I'm slightly confused by this, as this document refers to March 24. The agenda paper refers to March 25. The context would suggest that it should be a statement of the balances at the beginning of the financial year, but it's a little unclear.
Sorry, that's where we need Rachel, because I don't.
Okay, can
I'm
you
not close to that.
ask that one to be sorted out? And then 8.7.
Can I just ask?
Yes.
The bottom line is net balance as of the 31st of March 25.
Which is not in fact the case. It's the March 24 balance there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I see your point. I see your point. Yeah. So it's dates a bit.
Just be a.
I think it's typos, but
Yeah.
okay. And then if you look at item 8.7 and go down to the numbers included at the foot of that schedule, you'll see that the 747,000 cash balance appears in the Oh, yeah, that's the trouble, yeah. 2025 column, and I think that the sections on rows 8, 9 and 10 are possibly in the wrong way round. £796,000 is definitely the cash that we held at March 25, but it's reported there as March 24.
Yeah.
Which page, sorry, which one?
What
document are we looking at?
8.7. 8.7 right down the end, you find lots of numbers.
These.
That's it. And it's rows 8, 9 and 10.
Well spotted, John.
Well, this, I'm amazed because the internal auditors looked at this.
Well, okay, but something's not right somewhere.
So which line are you saying?
Row 8. Yes. The 747 is in the 2025 column.
Saying they're being transferred.
Yes, they've
Been
been
transposed.
It looks as if they've been transposed.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh,
And
well,
the 2024 column is not
No,
consistent
we
with the
better-
previous
we
document.
better reject that one and get it checked this one. Yeah.
Report next week. Goodness.
Okay. Sorry about that.
It's all right.
No, well spotted.
Yeah,
Well
yeah.
spotted.
Okay.
We don't want the external auditors picking up.
Right. Okay. Has anyone got any other issues they want to raise on the AGO report?
No.
It is completely clean otherwise. Okay. Moving on, 8.8, notice of public rights. We have to recommend dates on which our records will be available to Joe Public. Is everybody happy with the dates?
Mm-hmm.
Steve, can I ask, as a matter of practical matters, given that our systems are largely computerized, what access do we have to provide, if any?
Well, I mean,
Do we print out everything and say, you can photocopy this? Or do we give them a
it's
computer
really-
terminal?
I was having exactly this conversation with Sharon this afternoon. I was saying that if somebody requested to see our accounts in accordance with their rights, you know, rather than coming in and putting the papers on the table and letting them make notes, I think in reality we would just literally run the copy and send it to them, because it seems absolutely daft that they have to make an appointment, come to an office, have
Yes.
the accounts laid out. I mean, I suppose this goes back to the days when the legislation was drafted and you'd have a cash book and they would come in and flick their
Yep.
way through the cash book. But of course now it's all digital. We can print whatever they want to look at. So we can send that as a PDF, which I think we probably would.
I'm aware of at least one person who's come in over the last 5 years to do that. But, yeah, there's no need. I mean, we can obviously send it to them.
Yeah, but it's a statutory right. It's historic. It's never been changed. And you know, if they wanted to come in, we put the counts. Technically, we would put the counts on the table for them to have reasonable access to. And we'd probably give them whatever they asked for, to be honest.
Okay, right. Everyone happy with that then?
Mhm.
Right, okay. 8.9, conflicts of interest. Does anyone wish to declare any conflicts of interest with BDO LLP, who are our external auditors? Absolutely. They don't make them like that anymore. In which case, does someone need to sign that?
So we'll do that.
Well, we're happy to recommend it to full council anyway. Okay, 8.10, these are the bad debts which we actually recommend to be written off, totaling approximately £200. But my concern is that they are probably the tip of the iceberg. There's probably another £2,000 at risk of not being collectible. And incidentally, I noticed that the accounting policy up till now has been to charge the bad debts as a reduction of income rather than as a separate line item in the accounts. I've asked Rachel to change that. We should know what our exposure to bad debts is and what the cost is. Right. Okay, any issues on that from anyone? No. Okay, 8.11. This is one that perplexes me. This is an invoice for £5,375, which I presume is a support for the Glendale contract.
Correct. So Rachel did send that to me a couple of weeks ago, and I said, well, we're not going to pay it. I think I got copied you in, didn't I? We're not going to pay it until we've seen the back end information to know. So they've told us what they're going to do.
We're going to suspend approval of that one.
Defer, yeah.
Steve, when they first mooted that, he said, well, that's great, but you need to tell us what grass you're cutting for the money, and at least provide some sort of, otherwise it's just a blank check. Because so what are you actually doing for the money? So, but we've told them that several times. So.
Okay. That takes us to the end of the detailed papers. I suggest that we recommend acceptance of them all subject to resolution of the query on the AGAR report and the further information on this invoice.
Yep, we'll do that.
All those in favour? Oh, sorry, we don't have a proposal and seconder yet, but
If you propose, Chair, then you don't need a second.
okay, right. Moving on, date of next meeting, 17th of September. They are, but they're in the confidential section. Yes, there are two other papers actually. Is everyone happy with the 17th of September? Good. Right, this is where we say to the public and the press that they are not welcome anymore. They are no longer darkening our doors. Do we have to do this formally? What, Steve?
Yeah, you need to read out
The whole blur. Oh,
No, you don't. I propose, as set out on the agenda, we'll do, Chair.
thank you. That will do.